Today we're gonna tell you the storyline of a film called Avatar: The Way of Water. From the year 2022. This film tells us about the following journey of Jake Sully, after kicking out the Sky People, or the humans from the planet of Pandora. Before we start, please support our channel by subscribing, and click the bell icon for future notifications. Now, let's start. The film begins in the beautiful Pandora, where Jake and Ney'tiri finally married, and they were also chosen as the leader of Metkayina, the Forest Na'vi clan. Where Jake and Ney'tiri were blessed with 3 kids, namely Netayam, Lo'ak, and Tug. There was also one adopted kid, named Kiri, who was the daughter of Dr.Grace's avatar from the previous film. And Spider, a human boy who was the son of late Colonel Miles. At that time, Spider was unable to get back to Earth since he was too young. So that he was forced to stay there on Pandora and adapt with the Forest Clan. Unfortunately, their peacefulness didn't last long. One night, Jake and Ney'tiri saw the Sky People, or the humans, came back, and built their new headquarters, called the Bridgehead City. And was about to take over Pandora again. And unexpectedly, their Research Development Administration, or RDA, managed to transfer Colonel Miles' memory and DNA to an avatar body. To complete their plan on taking down Jake, who was always in their way from taking over Pandora. Knowing the humans' arrival, Jake then launched an attack on the RDA's weapon supply train. And then took the weapons supply for themselves. In that attack, Netayam was injured pretty badly, after Lo'ak recklessly disobeyed his father's order, to only guard the attack. Due to that, Jake then forbid Lo'ak to ride Krun, to avoid any accident in the future. Few days later, Colonel Miles and his subordinates finally arrived at the RDA headquarters. There he met General Ardmore, the RDA Expeditionary Force commander. She then told Miles and his subordinates to check on their old headquarters. While at the same time, there were also Jake's children, who were playing around that area. Arriving there, Miles found his corpse, with a sticking arrow. Thus, brings back his old grudge, and makes him even more angry at Jake and Ney'tiri. Seeing Miles and his subordinates' appearance, Lo'ak then immediately reported it to his father. It panicked Jake, that he told them to hide, and wait for him to come. But right then, their hiding was blown, and they were caught by Miles. Fortunately, Jake and Ney'tiri arrived at the right time, and managed to rescue their children, but Spider, because he was caught and was taken to the ship. He was locked up, and was forced to tell them Jake and his family's whereabouts. Spider sealed his mouth tight, and was trying to endure the pain. Miles could not bear to see him, and asked General Ardmore for leniency, and promised her to gain the information with a softer approach. Miles then explained to Spider that they were actually blood-related, even though his body was different, but his memory and DNA were still able to sense the connection between them. Since then, Miles tried to get closer to Spider. He also started to learn the Na'vi tribe's life, so that he can be Na'vi fully, just like Jake. Slowly but surely, their connection got better, and Spider begins to open up to Miles.
This is our home!
On the other side, Jake realizes that him and his family's safety is at risk. They then have no choice but to leave their homeland, to avoid RDA's attack. After he passed the throne to another Na'vi, Jake and his family immediately left the clan, to a place far away. After their long journey, they finally arrived at the East Coast, home of the Metkayina Clan, the Oceanic Na'vi clan. Jake then asks for protection from the leader, Tonowari, from the attack of the Sky People. Tonowari's wife, Ronal, denied their request at first. Because Jake and his family inherit the devil blood from the Sky People's genetics. Furthermore, their existence was only going to bring disaster to the Metkayina clan. Hearing that, Ney'tiri then tried to defend her family, by saying that her family were fully a Na'vi tribe already. Also that her husband was a Toruk Makto, someone who was meritorious, and respected by the Na'vi tribe. And because of that, Tonowari finally accepts Jake and his family into the Metkayina clan. Since then, Jake and his family learn the way the Oceanic clan live. Fortunately, Tonowari's daughter, Syria, willingly trained them. From the technique to hold their breath, to the way to interact with the creatures there. Kiri was the fastest one to adapt to being under the sea. She even had a unique connection to the ocean, and everything within. The same thing was also done by Jake, where he had a special lesson from Tonowari, on how to ride an oceanic Krun. After their training, Loak was seen fighting Syria's brother, Aonung. Because Aonung always makes fun of Loak's family. Knowing that, Jake became angry, and told him to apologize to Aonung. Because however, Aonung was the son of Tonowari, the one who helped them. When Loak was about to apologize to him, Aonung and his friends took him to hunt around the Three Brothers rocks instead. When Loak was told to hunt for a fish, they then secretly retreated as Aonung played a trick on him. It turns out that these waters are inhabited by predator species, called Ikalas, who having smelled the blood of a hunted fish, and tried to hunt down, and eat Loak. He hides among a formation of underwater kelp, but when he can no longer stay underwater, and was about to be killed, a tulkun, bigger predator comes to his rescue. Soon after, Loak wakes up on top of the savior tulkun's body. He then tried to thank the tulkun for saving him, and be friends. He also helped the tulkun to remove a stuck harpoon from its fin. Meanwhile at the village, Jake was shocked to the fact that Aonung left Loak at the Three Brothers rocks. But fortunately, Loak managed to be saved, and came back to the village in one piece. At that time, Loak was defending Aonung instead, saying that he was getting out of the corals with his own will. Hearing that, Aonung was embarrassed, and also touched, until finally they became good friends. The next day, Loak tells Aonung and Syria, that he was saved by a tulkun, named Payakan. It turns out that tulkuns were just like a spiritual family to the Metkayina clan. But not Payakan, because he was considered as a killer tulkun, and being outcast and thus inhabits only the waters adjacent to the rocks by himself. Hearing that, he fell into disbelief. Because he was sure, that Payakan wasn't like what the Metkayina people accused him to be. He then still visited Payakan, and played with him. At the same time, Jake's children were taken to the Cove of the Ancestors. When Kiri was about to connect with the spirit tree, she then had a vision about Grace, her mother. But she suddenly had a seizure, and went unconscious. She was then taken back to the village, where Jake immediately called Dr. Norm to check on her. But he was unable to help her, until Kiri finally awakes, by the help of Ronil, and the spiritual powers. Unexpectedly, Dr. Norm's visit was tracked by Colonel Miles. He then decided to work with the tulkun hunters, who were roaming around the islands. A day before the hunt, the tulkun Chol were visiting the Metkayina people, and seeing each other's after a long time. At the same time, Miles and his subordinates arrived at a small village around the bay, to look for Jake. But they had no clue about him. Which drives Miles angry, and he orders his subordinates to burn the village down. The attacking news finally arrived at Tonowari's ear, which then he told Jake and Ney'tiri, and suggested them to prepare to face the Sky People. On the other hand, Loak was seen entering Payakan's mouth, and connected himself, to prove to his siblings, that Payakan is a good tulkun. There, he discovered the truth about Payakan's past, that Payakan was the only survivor of a hunter mass attack. And due to that, he was accused as a killer by his own Chol, and has been outcast ever since. The next day, the hunters started their hunt. And they managed to catch a tulkun and harvested its amrita, the enzymes from its brain glands, as it was the most profitable resource due to its anti-aging property. Then the tulkun corpse was deliberately left on the ocean by Colonel Miles, to provoke the Metkayinas, and pull Jake out of his hideout. A tulkun's death was certainly a hard blow to the Metkayinas, that Ronald cried and blamed Jake for the incident. The Metkayinas were furious, and about to avenge the tulkun's death. Hearing that, Jake immediately goes against the decision, because he knows precisely, that it was part of the Sky People's plan to start a war. He then suggested the tulkuns to swim away from the islands for some time. Hearing that suggestion, Loak then immediately went to warn Paya Khan, because he must not know about the plan. There Loak was followed by his siblings, also Siraya and Aunung. Arriving at the Three Brothers Rocks, they saw Paya Khan with a tracker device on him. Then they worked together to pull off the tracker. Right then, Loak called his father for help, which then Tonowari also came along, since his children were also there. After they managed to pull the tracker device off, they then flee away and spread out. Unfortunately, Colonel Miles and his subordinates came early, and managed to capture Loak, Siraya, and Tug, and were taken hostage on the ship. Knowing that his children were in danger, Jake then dared to face Colonel Miles. But when Jake was approaching the ship, Paya Khan suddenly appeared, and attacked the hunter's ship. The attack was then continued by the Metkayina Clan attacking the humans, or so-called the Sky People. The continuous attack killed a lot of them. There was also Spider, who was helping from inside the ship, by messing up in the control room. Soon after, Netayam went on the ship, and rescued her siblings and Siraya. Siraya then was told to take Tuk away from the ship, while Loak and Netayam went inside the ship, to rescue Spider. After successfully rescuing Spider, they were then seen by Miles and being shot at. Unfortunately, Netayam got shot, and died in the incident. Again, Loak felt guilty, because he was the one inviting him to get inside the ship. In the middle of their grief, Miles was still provoking Jake into fighting him. He told Jake that he already captured Kiri and Tug. There, Jake and Ney'tiri tried to strengthen each other. And with their awesome teamwork, they managed to kill a lot of Miles' subordinates and rescued Tug. Soon after, Miles appeared with Kiri as a captive. And the same thing was done by Ney'tiri to Spider. Which then his fatherly feeling hits, and makes him let go of Kiri. Soon after, the fight between Jake and Miles finally occurred. Because they were busy attacking each other, they didn't realize that they were actually trapped in a drowning ship. As well as Ney'tiri and Tuk, who were trapped on the other side of the ship. After a long fight, Jake finally managed to defeat Miles. And Jake finally realized that he was trapped, and about to run out of breath. Knowing that their family was in danger, Kiri, Loak, and Spider spread out to look for them. And thanks to the connected sea creatures with Kiri, they finally managed to rescue them all, and take them to the surface. On the other hand, Spider turns out rescuing Miles instead. But when he was invited to go with Miles, he refused, and chose his to go to Jake's family instead. After the long war, Jake's family finally accepts Netayam's death, and buried him in the Metkayina village. Now Jake's family were greeted by Tonowari, and officially became part of the Metkayina clan. And the film ends. What do you think of this movie? Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts on the comments section below. If you have any movie you want us to recap, please do tell us in the comment as well. And until next time.